Training Worldwide. Thanks for joining me today. This is our second monthly live office hours for all the clients and customers and prospects of Media Training Worldwide. Now, I'm going to start by doing something I always advise clients not to do, but I've already made two blunders. And a part of what I do teach people is learn from your mistakes, preferably not in front of people and not in front of paying customers. So, for starters, I'm going to apologize. This was supposed to start right at the top of the hour, and it's now 12 minutes after the hour. That is, in my view, unforgivable. I'm a very punctual person. I hate when people make me wait for them. So, I apologize to you. Now, I always advise people don't start a presentation with an apology. It really sets a bad taste in people's mouths, and it's just not a good way to start. The second huge blunder I made, and the reason for the first, is I did not practice enough on the technology. I've used Google Hangouts several times, as recently as a month ago, but since I'm not doing it daily or weekly, I forgot exactly how to start. And I forgot which button to push on the interface. So that made me all of a sudden panic. Uh-oh, it's 1 minute till one. I'm ready to start this. I can't figure out the start button. Now, I don't care how comfortable you are as a speaker, how many times you've done live TV, live webinars, spoken in front of thousands. The worst possible time to ever try to learn something is when you feel the spotlight is on you, whether you're giving a speech, a presentation on a national TV show, or even if you're doing a Google Hangout and there could be literally no one watching you. That's still the worst possible time to try to be typing something, figuring something out, learning something new. So I do beg you, don't make the mistake that I just made. Do a dry run, do a rehearsal, do a practice, figure out exactly what you want to do with the technology. And I'll make a promise to you right now, I'm going to try to do better for the next month. Now, those of you who read my regular newsletter saw me today talking about Hangouts, the fact that I'm doing them, and I want to encourage others to use the same technology. Now, the problem is many people hear a webinar, they think, oh, here's somebody who's going to come on, give me a big sales pitch, get rich quick, disguise it as pure content, and then spend the whole time with a hard pressure sale. Whip out your credit card, and I'm going to make you rich in 29 installments of $29 a month. Yeah, people can use it that way, but it doesn't have to be. I'm a big fan of having relatively unstructured live video webinars, hangouts through Google as we are today, is a way of simply staying in touch with prospects, with clients, with customers, and giving them an opportunity to ask questions in a way that they don't have to necessarily go out of their way to call you. You don't have to set up a meeting or an appointment. It's just they know they can reach out to you. So I'm experimenting with something right here in Media Training Worldwide, where every single month, typically the first week of the month, I pick a set time and I just let my clients, customers, colleagues know that I'm available for questions. And if it's a customer on one of my online courses and they spend only a couple $100, they know they can ask me a question directly. If it's a client who's paid my normal fees, it's just another bit of comfort knowing they can reach me and see me demonstrate it. They know they can call me anytime, but the fact that they can reach out this way makes it all seem a little more accessible. I would advise you, no matter what you do, to consider doing the same thing. If you're a one person business, if you have a company of 500 or 50,000 people, why not use this tool to communicate more effectively with your customers, your clients, and your prospects? Now, some of you have said, well, TJ, I'm not a TV guy. I haven't been trained to perform for the camera. That's not it. Think of it as just a way of meeting people, of having conversations. If you have your own business, even if you are reclusive, even if you aren't a people person, chances are when it comes to you actually nailing your best clients, your highest paying clients, you have to meet with them face to face. And certainly if you're the CEO of a huge corporation, when it's the biggest deal, when it is the biggest client, typically you're the one who has to meet with them face to face or even hop a plane and go to the other side of the world to meet with them. I'm not saying that Google Hangouts or any type of video webinar can eliminate the need for face-to-face meetings, but I do think it can help your business sometimes decrease the need for face-to-face meetings, sometimes increase the possibility that you'll even have a face-to-face meeting with that ideal prospect who wasn't sure if they even wanted to meet with you yet. So let's look through some of the typical reasons people don't use this format. Number one reason I believe people don't like to talk about it, they're afraid they'll look stupid, nervous, uncomfortable being in front of a video camera. I don't know how to perform. Just talk. Yeah, you can get a lot better. There's more sophisticated coaching involved, and that is what I do. But the easiest way to get better at speaking on Google Hangouts videos, other live webinars, other platforms, is just to do it regularly. The very first time you ever spoke on a telephone might have felt awkward. You're a little kid, you're used to talking to human beings the whole time. I know my daughter, she's 2.5. She talks a mile a minute to her grandma in person, but it's only been the last couple of months when grandma's on the phone that she really makes the connection and talks, because for quite some time she'd hear grandma look funny. She wouldn't talk to the phone. Any technology is kind of weird the first time you use it. However, if you use it regularly, it becomes commonplace. All of us are used to picking up the phone and just, except I dropped mine. We're all used to picking up our phone and talking on it all the time. It is completely second nature. The same thing can happen to you when it comes to using the medium of Google Hangouts video or any kind of live video. The reason I like live is it now can be truly interactive. It's true, you can post a video on YouTube and someone can type in a comment a month later, a year later. You can in turn respond back, but it doesn't have that immediacy. When it's live and someone can type in a message to you, you can talk to them directly. They can hear you. And in fact, with some of the technologies, the applications are you can let other people on. Google Hangouts, you can have a number of other people on talking to you live. So for small group meetings, it can be an ideal forum. The other reason I like this particular format is it instantly is saved. You don't have to do any editing. You don't have to do any formatting. You don't have to do any downloading and uploading. It's boom, it's just right on your YouTube channel. So that makes it incredibly easy, and you have more content for your customers, clients, and prospects. So if you haven't used Google Hangouts, I beg you, try one. Try it. You can use it just talking to one customer if you want. You don't have to invite the world. You can make it private. You don't have to save it. More and more of us are getting comfortable using Skype video. In some ways, this is very similar to that. Only unlike Skype video, everything is instantly recorded. You don't have to become a software genius and install a third-party software app the way you do if you're trying to record a Skype video. So even though I use Skype, each one has its own place. Skype can be easier if someone's already familiar with that and you just want to talk to one person. But having the broadcast effect, being able to reach really all of your customers, all of your clients in the world, if they happen to want to watch it and you can get them to come, that's part of the magic of this. And I think we're going to be seeing more and more of this. Just the way people went from faxes to emails and emails to blogs and blogs to Twitter. People keep adding more and more ways of communicating. However, the most powerful way is always a face to face meeting. But that's why I believe the second most powerful is live video. If someone can see you, look you in the eyes, let you know, hey, I don't understand that. Take your pulse on something, probe you, interrupt you, get your immediate feedback on their concern. That's always going to be more powerful than just a static blog post or one tweet. And I'm not opposed to those communication strategies either. But I do think use what is most powerful. If you're good at talking about your business, what it is you do, whatever your passion is, people need to see that, hear that, and ideally be able to talk to you directly. So that's why I would recommend that. Now, the other issue is this is a great way in a social media format to get direct responses in conversation. And I'll toss this open to you. I'll take any of your questions with the caveat being I gave people the wrong address for this. So that's why most of you were not able to attend. I do apologize for any of you going to another part on my Google Plus page and not being able to find it. But this will be available or is available on YouTube, which is probably where you're watching this now. And next month, I will get things better coordinated so that you can, in fact, make one click and come right to this page and see it and ask your questions. Now, I want to go over some of the questions that were asked by some of my students earlier this week. They were sent in advance. And anytime you send me questions on public speaking or media training, I typically answer them in a video format and send you the video. So it's not just answered here in the Google Hangouts, but I make a specific video for you, post it on my YouTube channel, and send it to you. And there's no extra charge for this. It's something that all of my clients and customers do receive. This question comes in from Joshua. Do you have any example, who's in my online PowerPoint presentation class? Do you have any examples of PowerPoint that follow what you teach in your course, like effective slides and one image, one idea per slide? Well, Joshua is referencing the fact that in my online PowerPoint course, I recommend to people that they limit their slides to one idea per slide and that they try to convey that idea with an image, a picture, a graph, not text. I understand that isn't how most of you are used to seeing PowerPoint slides, but all my research and testing around the world for the last 20 years or so shows me that that's the only thing that's effective. Now, Joshua, if you want a good example of this, I'm not just going to send you to my site with some of my speeches. I'd urge you to go to TED.com or go to YouTube and just go to the TED channel. The reason people talk about, oh, that's a TED speech, that's a great speech, I want to be a TED speaker. The reason TED speeches are good is because the organizers of TED have basically told people you can't give the normal, boring, crappy PowerPoint speech. You got to follow a few basic rules. And the basic rule when it comes to PowerPoint, use images, not text, one idea per slide. So almost any presentation you see on TED.com follows that principle. A couple caveats here. TED, which I think is a great organization, has these TEDx conferences all over the world now, and frankly, the standards are much lower. They don't weed out a lot of bad speakers. So if you go to a TEDx conference, or if you see any TEDx speakers on YouTube, you will see presentations that have text and bullet points and clutter on their slides, and they're frankly not very good. Now, the speaker may still deliver a good presentation. They may have good ideas in their presentation, but their slides aren't really helping them. The other person I would recommend, and he's not a client of mine, I don't want to seem self-serving, is Steve Jobs. When Steve Jobs gave a presentation, he didn't use PowerPoint slides, he used the Apple version of PowerPoint, but he followed the same principles. He generally would put one image per slide. So when he wanted to introduce the iPhone, he said, so what's our next big product? You've seen this, and he puts up a picture of an iPod. You're familiar with this. And he puts up a picture of a traditional cell phone. What do we have next? And the pictures merge together into the iPhone. Now, it's been, 10 years since he did that, and I still remember it. Is it because my memory's great? No, I don't even remember what I had for lunch a half an hour ago. It's great, not the memory, but the speaker, because of how the slides were created following a few basic principles. One idea per slide, don't use text, and make sure the slide helps people remember the idea you really care about. He was trying to convey the idea that you're going to have the best of your cell phone and all the music and stuff of your iPod on one thing, this thing called the iPhone. Brilliant messaging, brilliant speech. People can debate that. What you can't debate is it worked. Not just because of the sales, but because people actually remember the initial sales pitch that he gave all these years later. So Joshua, that's my main recommendation to you is be on the lookout for good speakers everywhere, because you'll see good speakers in every kind of industry, but also be on the lookout for bad speakers and figure out what you don't want to do and avoid that. Every client I work with says, TJ, I hate the speeches at my corporation. It's these boring data dump, these PowerPoints that drone on and on and on. They say they hate it, but then when it's their turn to get up and give their presentation, what do? They do the same thing. And I asked them, well, Todd, you just told me you hated boring data dumps and slides with too much stuff. Aren't you doing the same thing here? Well, yeah, but TJ, my audience is different. I sort of have to. My hands are tied. I want you to question that assumption. I would maintain your hands are not really tied. You may get some pressure, but here's the thing. People are afraid to use PowerPoint effectively because they're afraid that they're going to disappoint their boss or their audience. So they stick with the tried and true, a whole bunch of text, a whole bunch of bullet points. But here's the thing I would ask you to remember. Anytime you do something different out of the ordinary, yeah, there is a chance you fail to meet expectations and people think, oh, well, he didn't create a real PowerPoint. There is a chance that you could be fired in theory. There's also the chance that you just barely meet expectations. But there's always a third option. The third option is you exceed, perhaps wildly exceed people's expectations because it was so much better than what they're used to, than what they expect. That's what I recommend you do when it comes to your PowerPoint presentations. Don't just stick with the same old thing because, well, that's how we've always done it around here. That is not a prescription for you building your reputation as a communicator. It's not a way to stand out. It's not a way to have your bosses, your board of directors think that you are someone who deserves perhaps a bump up in responsibility or another job. It just makes you blend in. Now, if that's completely your goal, fine, nothing wrong with that. But if you want to do better, if you want to do more, if you want to be more successful, my recommendation, try to make every presentation, certainly every PowerPoint presentation, great. And the way to do that is one idea per slide, images only, and test your presentation. You're giving a PowerPoint presentation to 30 prospects or colleagues on Thursday. Find 3 colleagues on Tuesday, give them your presentation. When you're done, ask them every slide they remember. Any slide they don't remember, you now have evidence it's worthless. Tear it up, throw it in the trash can. Ask them every message they remember from your presentation. If they remember your messages, that's great. You're successful. You can use that for your real presentation. If they don't remember your message, the problem isn't with the audience. The problem is with the speaker. It's going to be your job to recraft that presentation, do it again until people can remember your message. So, Joshua, that's my real advice to you. on where to find good examples and how to make your own PowerPoint presentations more effective. Now, if you're seeing this on demand, which I suspect you are, please keep in mind, I'm happy to answer your questions live anytime. We have these sessions once a month. And also, if you email me, tj@tjwalker.com, if you email me any question about public speaking, speaking to the media, or presentation training, crisis communications, I will answer you in a video and try to demonstrate best practices. I was having dinner with a marketing executive a couple of weeks ago who told me, TJ, here's the classic problem so many entrepreneurs make. They create a product that they think people need as opposed to focusing on a product that people want. And I thought about it, and it certainly made sense to me. I've certainly seen entrepreneurs pushing something that had great technology, great engineering, and yet nobody was really clamoring for this product, and the product failed. But it also let me think about what goes on in my own profession, because I have seen countless times that individuals want a quick, simple solution on how to be a better presenter. So they want to have an app. They want to be told, well, there's a simple body language pose. If you go like this, it'll fill you with confidence and you'll be a great speaker. People are looking for gimmicks. That's why and it might not even be quick. They're looking for this new special effect they can put in their PowerPoint software. And so I have a little bit of a dilemma when it comes to what this marketer told me. Because on the one hand, I do believe that you can't force something down somebody's throats that they don't want. On the other hand, if you're giving them something that they want and you know it's doing absolutely no good, is that ethical? Is that honest? Is that the sort of business you want to be in? Because in my business, when it comes to, say, for example, helping people get over their fear of public speaking, I see so many charlatans out there. There's some guy on the internet who says if you just tap your face enough times and hum something, you'll get over your fear of public speaking. I see hypnotists who focus on all the wrong things. And I've actually seen people get up there, obviously scared. I'm no longer scared of public speaking thanks to my hypnosis or my neuro-linguistic programming or my S training. And they're obviously still scared, but they're lying to themselves. And there's so many charlatans in this business. Now, there are a lot of good people in the business too. But here's my problem with all that. I do have a solution that actually works for most people when it comes to helping them get over their fear of public speaking or building more confidence or actually just getting to be a great speaker. So I have the solution people want, but it's not the type of solution people want. Because here's my solution. My solution is practice your speech on video, talk to your own cell phone, watch it, figure out what you like, don't like, do it again, record it again. Keep on doing that until you like what you see. If you can point to a video of yourself speaking and you actually like how you look and how you sound, well, think about it in a moment. It's going to be hard to be nervous after that. It is a foolproof solution. I've done it on thousands of my clients when they're with me. But here's the secret. You can do it on your own. It's not technically hard. Most of you have captured a video on your cell phone of a child or grandchild or friend or family member. So that's not hard. You just tell yourself it's hard and you just don't want to do it. Okay. That doesn't make it hard though. So that's my real dilemma. I have a solution for people. They don't want to hear it quite often. And I can tell you, I have 15,000 plus students in my online courses all over the world, more than 140 countries. People are enrolled. Far less than 1% of them will actually do the one homework assignment I tell them is absolutely critical to record themselves on video, post it, look at it, get feedback and critique. They think that by hitting that buy button and then watching that video, well, that's the solution. They'll get better. I tell them right up front, that's not going to help them be a better speaker. So if any of you face this dilemma in your own business, I'd love to hear from you because it can be a challenge. Nobody really wants to be in a business where they think I'm selling somebody a sugar pill just to fool them and trick them. And I don't want to be in that business. And yet it is frustrating to see other people selling their sugar pills and seemingly laughing all the way to the bank. And I've noticed this especially in the whole body language realm. There are charlatans out there who've been thoroughly discredited if you bother to Google them. And yet they have the most popular videos on YouTube, on TED.com, and others because they share these myths that if you just stand like this, you'll be better off. The worst myth of all time, and I was guilty of spreading it until I learned the facts, is this so-called study done at UCLA that says that 93% of all communication is how you move and how you sound. There was a study done in UCLA in 1972 that purported to show that 55% of all communication is your body language, 38% your voice, and if I did the math right, 7% what you say. Therefore, we need to spend all of our time looking good and sounding good. The only problem is it's not true. The professor himself who conducted the study says every single person who's ever written about it has wildly distorted it. And that's not at all what his research showed. Think about it. If 93% of all communication was not dependent on words, that means you could go to any country in the world, not speak the language, and you would instantly understand 93% of what people are saying to you, whether it's in Arabic or Italian or Russian, and they could understand you. Obviously, that is completely absurd. And yet I see people who are so-called speaking experts, body language experts, communication experts, continually putting forth this old saw. And it's just absolute, utter nonsense. So anyway, in your own business, feel free to post comments. I would love to see if you have any thoughts on how you battle this sometimes push and pull between giving your own clients what they think they want versus your perception as an expert on what they really need to solve their problem, because there can often be a bit of a disconnect. Let's switch now to a few more performance tips on how to do live webinars, internet videos, your own YouTube channel. I often have people, and I appreciate it, it's nice, but I often have my students write to me and say, oh, teacher, I wish I could sound like you. You seem comfortable, relaxed on videos. You're easy to listen to. And thanks, I appreciate it, but I'm here to tell you, there's no unique skill or talent that I have for this. I'm just not nervous because I've done it 10,000 times. If you do it, maybe not 10,000 times, but 100 times, you'll come across natural, relaxed, and comfortable too. So it's like anything else. It's a little bit different the first time you do it, but the more you speak in front of a camera, the easier it gets. The biggest blunders people make, being frozen, stiff, not moving, trying to read their notes in a stealthy way, and it really just doesn't come across very well. The reason people do that is they're nervous. They're thinking, uh-oh, people can see me. What do I do now? Uh-oh, I'm getting a double chin and my hair is falling. And they start second guessing themselves. You don't want to do that. You want to get to the point where you can simply talk, be in the moment, be relaxed relatively, and that way you can move and become natural. So that's my challenge to you. Rather than doing what most people do, which is spend 6 months researching on the perfect video camera, just start a Google Hangout video today or tomorrow, or at least shoot a video on YouTube. People say, well, what do I talk about? What I always say is think of a prospect, a good prospect who calls you, who's interested in your product or service, and they're now on the phone with you for half an hour. There's probably 10 or 15 questions that you hear again and again and again in your business. How you help people, what your solutions are, what it is you do. Each one of those questions is the perfect topic for a video. Make it a YouTube video and put those in your frequently asked questions section of your website. Have that as a section or a playlist on your YouTube channel. And you could put them all together, do one take where it's one long video too. You can use it in a variety of ways. But don't delay. I can tell you a lot of the business I get comes from people, not because they were former clients, not because they've read any of my numerous books, not because they've seen me quoted in the New York Times and other places. They hire me because when they send an email to 10 different media training firms, I send them back a personalized video. I say, hi, Jim, I'm TJ Walker. Thanks for emailing earlier today. I understand you're interested in media training. I've looked at your website and I see that, and I talk about them for a while. And then I just say the same old stuff I would say if a prospect walked into my office and we had a conversation, only I'm doing it in a video format. And that's how I get a lot of business because the clients who call me and hire me say, hey, you're the only person who did that. Everybody else just sent text. And I understand sending text because we have a whole bureaucracy and infrastructure set up to deal with text. We have word processors. We have keyboards everywhere. We have spell check already on the computer. So it seems easy. But really, how hard is talking? Once you set up a camera, a little bit of light, or just go outside and use natural light and talk to your prospect. And that can be an extraordinarily effective way for you to communicate and perhaps turn that prospect into an actual client or customer. I understand if you're selling a product that costs $2, you can't create a personalized video for each prospect, but certainly you can have general ones that cover all the questions that that prospect is interested in. Plus, you can have testimonials from your customers who really like your product. So please think about doing more video and doing it on a regular basis and getting to the point where you're just as comfortable talking in front of a camera versus typing. Let's turn our attentions for the moment to the US presidential race. Now, even those of you who don't like politics, and I know some of you hate politics, and I'm not here to give anyone my political ideals, but it's interesting because it is one of these situations where people, a large mass of people, are all focusing on the same person. When there's a presidential campaign, when there are political debates. Now, this past weekend, I was a guest speaker on a panel in Manhattan at the Roosevelt Hotel at I believe it was called We Rock Women Conference, Conference for Business Women. And I was speaking on how to communicate and how to have charisma, how to speak to the media. One of the panelists pointed out that there is a lot of discrimination against women. A lot of the business world is stacked against women. And I agree with all that. But my point to them was speaking to the media and giving speeches is one area where there is a level playing field. And as proof, all you have to look at is what's going on in the current Republican presidential race. You had Carly Fiorina, who a month ago was not in the top 10. She was polling at around 0 nationwide, but she was invited on to the CNN debate And strictly because of her performance in that debate, she skyrocketed to number 2 in the polls, number 3 in some, but a tremendous trajectory. Was it because of a huge, slick advertising campaign? No, she's not advertising. Was it because of profiles of her fabulous record as the CEO of HP? No, that wasn't it, because most of the profiles pointed out how she was a very contentious CEO and that anyone who invested during her tenure saw massive losses in the stock price. The stock went down about 80% while she was the CEO. So it wasn't that she was getting lots of good publicity about her record. Is it because of her political record? Well, no, she's had not much of a political record to speak of. She ran for the Senate, was a horrible candidate, lost badly and in California. And she's been a spokesperson for John McCain and Mitt Romney, and obviously didn't earn them a lot of votes. Why did she skyrocket? The only variable that I think anyone could put their finger on is how she spoke at that debate. She spoke with conviction. She spoke with force. She spoke with tremendous emotion, clarity, much more forceful than, say, Scott Walker, who has since dropped out of the race. So to me, it is fascinating as a communicator when you look at differences of men and women and discrimination and all those issues. I believe speaking really is different in that most men are awful speakers and most women are. So if you can be a woman or a man and be much better than the others, you'll stand out quickly, regardless of your gender. Now, I hope I'm not stepping on any toes, but in case you hadn't noticed, the Republican Party has not been known as the bastion for political correctness of rewarding women just for showing up and being women. That's not what they're about. So I don't think you could say Carly Fiorina is skyrocketed to near the top of the polls just because she's a woman. She is advanced because of how she speaks, her clarity, her force, her willingness to attack, her willingness to be vivid and emotional. That's what voters want. And the voters in her party like her message. And will that make her the next president? I'm not quite sure that's enough, but it certainly made her a viable, credible presidential candidate to a lot of people, not just the media, but major funders and major establishment players of the Republican Party. So we'll be following the presidential campaign very closely here because it's a great prism to look through to really analyze speaking skills. There are exceptions, of course, but I would say in general, you don't get to be president, you don't get to be elected president unless you're a world-class communicator. Obama, great. He rose to prominence because of his speech in the 2004 Democratic Convention and is viewed by everyone except his most intense enemies as a great speaker. Bill Clinton, fabulous, brilliant speaker. Even his enemies would admit that. Ronald Reagan, the great communicator. Now, the one exception to this, of course, is George Bush. That's a complicated one. Let's not forget the fact that he didn't actually win a majority of the votes in the 2000 election. That's a complicated one. But by and large, the better communicator in the general election always wins. And that's why it's incredibly interesting to me from a non-political, apolitical standpoint, really to analyze what's going on in the presidential race, because so many other people are looking at it and it serves as a great reference point. So if you have any questions on what you think someone is doing well or doing to hurt them when it comes to the presidential candidates, feel free to post your comments there as well. We're about to finish up our time. If any of you do have questions and we're not able to see this live, please keep in mind we're here every single month. I post the time on my blog and on my various online course channels. But you can always email me and ask me, and you can always email me with your questions, and I can address them in detail. Here, we have plenty of time. There's no time constraints. We don't have to break for commercials. If it goes a little longer than an hour, that's okay too. And I will answer your questions in a YouTube video as well. Thanks again for spending time with me. You can always reach me anytime, TJ Walker. My number is +1 if you're calling from outside the United States, +1 212 764 4955, or email tj at tjwalker.com. Thanks a lot and see you next month.